Entrepreneurs on born that brew. You are now listening to the Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney. Let's grow!
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Podcast. I am your host, Adam McChesney, and I want to thank you for being here today. If you're listening, please be sure to subscribe to the show and leave us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. We would love for you to share this on social media by tagging me and our guests, and this way we can get the content out to more people. Today's guest and I have been connected for a while online via Apex. I was a guest on his podcast last month and absolutely loved his energy there and his outlook on life and winning. He is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to HR, employee benefits, mental health, and all things business and entrepreneurship in addition to winning. My guest today is Jeff Brekken. He is the CEO of Iconic HR and podcast host at Addicted to Winning. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Adam, it is so awesome to be here. I appreciate you. And you know what? Entrepreneur is a perfect name for your podcast because I'm telling you, like, who doesn't like a really great beer and everything that goes into it, right? So that's just like entrepreneurship. Yeah.
And it combined with entrepreneurship, beer, you know, it doesn't get much better than that. And the reason why, and I think we kind of talked about this on your podcast, is the reason why I wanted to create this platform really was everybody's story is a little bit unique and different, even though we might come from the same types of backgrounds and things like that. But there's a specific recipe that got us where we're at today. So that's kind of where we want to kick off here, Jeff. Tell us a little bit about you and, you know, kind of your history and where you got to where you're at today.
Well, I was 7.4 pounds at birth. Now, I won't go that far back, but it almost does go that far back, right? Because like every single day that you go through life, it truly shapes you into who you truly are, right? And that's the beautiful thing about where people are at right now. It's the past, but the past doesn't necessarily it doesn't truly tell your future, right? But it has a really strong coincidence, I should say, about where you've come from and the path that you're going to lead going forward if you don't change anything, right? So I grew up on a family farm, sugar beets, wheat, barley, all that stuff, small grains. And at the early age of 9, my dad taught me about self-worth and what you're truly worth. And it's not necessarily money. It's about, are you genuine? Are you respectful? Are you living in integrity? All that stuff. And that was invaluable lesson to grow up on a farm and have my dad teach me that. I was a goaltender from age 5 for hockey. And being in St. Louis, they got a phenomenal hockey team there. So I like the Blues. But being a goaltender, truly, like, half the game, the play is on the other side of the ice. And that truly gave me a perspective that I use every single day in life and in business, that I can literally see plays coming at me, you know, whether it's in hockey or whether it's in life or business. I can see stuff happening and playing out differently because I was a goaltender. And I love that feeling, right? And if you don't like something coming at you, you better change it, right? So, you know, and then all of a sudden I got into my late teens and I started to question everything. And that to me is a true entrepreneur. You know, you're always testing, split testing, A, B, and you're doing it in marketing all the time, right? Split testing life, what is going to work, what's not going to work. And having life's lessons truly help you out tomorrow and be a better person as well. So that's kind of the gist about me.
I love that. And we've had plenty of guests on that have talked about, you know, their past and things like that, but not a lot of people have actually talked about the relationship. And I know we talked about this on your podcast, but the relationship to athletics and how that translates into the business world. And I almost said something very identical on your podcast about, I know that I'm not the quickest, fastest, strongest, or best at anything, but I can see things ahead of time. And that gives me the competitive advantage, as you mentioned, to be able to do that. So I would love to know, you know, obviously you kind of talked about your upbringing and kind of where that got you today. Talk to us about some of the businesses you've started and kind of what you're doing today and how you've been able to fulfill on everything you learned growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, to be honest with you, I've started a few businesses, a couple of them, and I had a construction business, built 109 custom homes in the early 2000s, and then I went through a life's lesson in a recession in 2008, right? And that truly taught me, hey, I don't have to have millions of dollars of overhead or land to be able to be happy and to be in business, right? I went from that to an insurance agency that we were doing business in 46 states. And all of a sudden, I go from a really top heavy construction business as far as overhead goes to literally a pen, a laptop, a great personality, a smile, and a cell phone, making six figures the first year, right? Like it just, so those are kind of life's lessons that I've been through. And then all of a sudden COVID hits and I've got clients in every state, and most of them are small businesses, anywhere between 10 and 25, 30 employees, but they don't know how to lay off correctly. They don't know how to bring people back correctly. Very few of them had their compliance up to speed as far as employee benefits goes, employee handbook, employee policies and procedures. And I'm telling you, there's therapy for me. I understand, because nobody really likes HR. But I started an HR company knowing that my clients and a lot of other companies out there were having that exact same struggle. And so that's kind of where the Iconic HR was born, and it's going phenomenal right now. So yeah, I'm kind of a visionary. I'm a serial entrepreneur, but as the years have gone on, it's gone from more of, dare I say, self-fulfilling prophecy to be a great entrepreneur and success, to being a success and a visionary, but leading a servant life. And that when you combine passion and business and owning a business and helping clients, a certain thing happens that way more than the self-fulfilling prophecy of just owning a business, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And so kind of what I'm hearing, Jeff, is you've obviously seen multiple different things, from the recession and everything that happened in, the late, 2008, everything like that, being in the construction space, all the way through COVID and things like that. And you've been able to pivot and kind of see those opportunities. One thing that I've learned in talking with entrepreneurs is that a lot of people will run stuff into the ground and not actually see the next play ahead, because sometimes they're too stubborn, or it might be the ego and all those different things. Why do you believe that and obviously you kind of talked about it before potentially, but why do you believe that you were able to, be able to put that aside and be like, hey, I understand I built this thing, but there's something bigger and better on the other side that will actually serve me and help serve others?
I just got goosebumps with that, Adam. Great question. And I didn't always have this, but, I grew up Catholic. Don't want to talk religion on your podcast, but, I'm not a religious guy at all, but over the years I've gotten to be pretty spiritual. And I truly believe in a higher being. I talk to my people, my spirits, all that stuff, like every single day. And then they truly guide me. And what that is all about is truly living your life with genuineness, integrity, live a life of gratitude. I'm blessed to be here today on your podcast. And the thing about it is once you do that, it truly will lead you to the right spot. Right. And that might be kind of a who like answer, but it truly is. If you're living a congruent life and living a life of your purpose, you're going to be, it's almost like your life is guided for you. Right. That seems real hoo-hoo, but to a lot of people, I'm sure, but it's all about living your passion and living a life of your purpose. So many people don't even know what their purpose is in life right now. And I didn't need, to be honest with you, 5-6 years ago, I didn't either. But I just had I kept having these recurring dreams that I'm supposed to do, do this. And all of a sudden, like when I admitted it and when I talked that out loud, it just came to me, and all of a sudden, all right, I'm listening to you from now on. Like everything just started falling into place.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, that answer is real and authentic is what it is. And a lot of people don't necessarily like those answers sometimes because they're like, it just doesn't, that's not, they almost don't think it's real and authentic sometimes. But those are typically the people that are going through something deeper that they don't know who they are. And that's not the cool answer. The cool answer is what people want to put out on social media to be like, hey, I did it because there was more money over here, or I was going to be able to, get the second home and all those other things, which is what we've been accustomed to. But at the end of the day, I've had money working for somebody else. I've had money working for myself. And if that at the end of the day is all you have, you really don't have much at all.
Oh, that's so very true. I literally have had 3 conversations just like this. They all started out differently, obviously, but just this week. And it's truly like, W-2 positions. A lot of people, most people in the United States or the world have W-2 positions, right? And they go through life hoping to get to a destination of retirement so that they can travel, so they can live their dreams and live their passions and do all that. But what truly happens is, I don't know the percentage, but people retire, right? And then all of a sudden they start to travel or to live their dreams. And then one of the couple or one of the spouses gets sick. And then all of a sudden the other one just doesn't do much because they're mourning that. Right.
Yeah.
And so many people live for the destination versus live for the journey. And the journey truly is every single day. The journey is the destination, right? Like if you look at life like that today is the journey. This podcast is the journey. Every moment that we have is part of the destination, right? But it's the journey. It's the journey through life. And if you live a life like that, you're going to live a grateful life and you're going to live a passionate life. And so many people just wait until they're 65 and 70 to do that. And then all of a sudden it's too late.
Yeah. No, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more there. I mean, I've done more, working for myself and traveling and doing all these things over the last 3 years, albeit a lot from work opportunities and things like that. But just, I would have never imagined doing that because and I made a post about this the other day, but growing up, I knew entrepreneurs. I didn't know what it meant to be an entrepreneur. And everybody told me, go get the great job, go get the money, go to college, do all those different things. And it's such a tunnel vision view of what the world actually is. And unfortunately, so many people think that they have to go down that path in order to get the benefits, in order to have the security, and then eventually retire. And then that's when the floodgates open. And if you're lucky, you might be able to retire early, right? But I can't even fathom, and I think you'd probably agree with me as most entrepreneurs, where like, I don't even know what it would look like to go back to work for somebody else, knowing what I know on the other side and knowing that, whatever way you look at it, I want to be in control of my own destiny, but I just also don't want to have those handcuffs and be like, hey, no, you have to request time off.
Adam, I agree with that 100%. Like I've literally told people, in the last few years, like I have been unemployable to somebody else as a W-2 employee since 1999. Like because of the fact that like my mind works I think anyway, in my mind, I believe I work way differently than a W-2 person. Like I'm always looking at what's next. How can we make it better? How can we form alliances? And to be honest with you, this whole thing, like my whole journey that I've been on has been because of employers and entrepreneurs and masterminds that I've been part of and talking to everybody through those rooms, getting in the right rooms to be able to put myself in situations where I can talk to you. I can talk to, Lisa Marie Platsky. I can talk to Chris Whitehead. I can talk to lots of different people to be able to say, okay, hey, tell me about your journey. And I can explain my journey. People that are entrepreneurs, and I love your podcast, right? Or entrepreneurs, right? people that own businesses, they're a little bit off, to be honest with you. Right. And it's a different breed because, at the end of the day, sometimes we have no money whatsoever and we have no idea where the money's coming from for the next payroll, or we have no idea, we have a trip planned and we have no idea where that money's coming from to pay for that trip. And the thing about it is like all those little pieces and pieces of the puzzle, like it just comes together for some reason if you're living an authentic and genuine life. And like 4 or 5 years ago, I truly didn't understand how all these pieces were put together. And I still don't know the full piece. I've still got a couple pieces missing, but it's coming together in a clear plan. But getting into masterminds and people that actually have the same mindset as yourself, and as we do has been an absolute game changer. If you think like in, let's just say anywhere rural America, like you and I are both in flyover states, but in rural America, right? Like in a small town, 2,000-3,000 or less of people, if you own a business and that is your sandbox, right? Like you're only going to get as good as your sandbox. But if you expand your horizons and you expand your mind to say, okay, well, I'm a small business in rural America, but I want to be bigger. I want to be in like 3 counties versus just 1 county, right? Or I want to be in 3 states versus 1 state. If you get into rooms where people are doing that already and have that same exact mindset, you will absolutely grow. Like otherwise, when I've heard it from you before, but if you're not growing, you're dying. There's only 2 things in life, and you have to put yourself, if you truly want to grow, you have to put yourself in rooms that people are already in and they're growing, and the full room is growing. Nobody's dying in those rooms. And that's the true aspect of like visionary and what you truly want to do and how do you want to live your best life is putting yourself in those rooms. So many people out there have surrounded themselves with people that truly don't believe in what you do and in what they do. Right. Yeah. It's awesome. You own a business. But they have no idea what you do and what you go through, but putting yourselves in those rooms, they know.
Oh yeah.
And that has been a game changer for me for the last 5 years.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask about that. Obviously, knowing that you've been in multiple groups, invested in yourself, and been in the right, putting yourself in the right situations. Right. I think that's one of the biggest things. And it's so funny to me because 3 years ago I joined my first mastermind 3 weeks after going into entrepreneurship because I quickly realized I didn't know what I didn't know, and I wanted to condense time by utilizing money to get in those rooms. At the same time, though, I was also going to all the local events, and St. Louis isn't a small town by any means, but it was so mind-blowing to me realizing that so many of those people, there's different levels to this stuff when it comes to entrepreneurs. There's the people that are kind of like the side hustlers, the quote-unquote entrepreneurs. Then there are the people that have just like gotten by, whether it's making a bunch of money or just like barely making it by. And then there's the people that are actually looking for that next level, I think, and there's probably tons of other levels from there. But the by being in those rooms and doing it here locally, there's some good ones, right? But they're more so the anomaly. Most of them, people are just complaining about life, complaining about COVID, then complaining about the economy, complaining about all these different things. And you're like, you guys are some of the most, regarded people in the area in terms of business, and you guys are all talking about this. Then we go into those other rooms where we travel from all over the country, spend a bunch of money to be there, and the conversations are just different. I don't know how to explain it, but can you explain like what the difference is? I know you touched on it a little bit, but like there is something drastically different when you're in those rooms that are smaller, where people are investing money and a lot of it at that point to do that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're spot on when it comes to the different levels and the higher you go up, and I'm not saying, as far as monetary, anything like, I'm saying the rooms that you are getting into, the higher that you go up as far as, from county to state to Midwest or a region, and then national levels, the higher that you go up in those rooms, the less negativity that you have, right? And like, I literally over the last 5 years have cut every single negative person out of my life. And it's very, 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 very lonely. I will tell you that. However, like, I used to have 75 local friends that I could go out anytime and have a beer with, right? Now I'm probably at 4, but I'm so much better off with those 4 because they actually get me. They know me. Now I've got tons of friends nationally. I'm talking, I went from 75 local to 4 and I'm living a better life right now. I'll tell you that much. But getting into those rooms, the negativity, there's very, very, very little negativity versus the local room. Like you said, you know, a lot of people, they're just getting by, and it's almost like a cancer in the room, to be honest with you. Like, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me. And more victim attitude or perspective, I should say, versus the national rooms are like, hey, like, how can I help you?
Yeah.
You know, there's roofers in those rooms doing billions and billions and billions of dollars, and not only roofers, but other entrepreneurs as well. And they literally are saying, how can I help you? No matter what level or where you're at in the United States, like, they are saying, how can I help? How can I serve? And that truly is the amazing thing about those mastermind rooms.
And I think what you mentioned is everybody's saying, you know, poor me, poor me, poor me, and they're not even asking for help. You know, a lot of people think that even when you go to those larger rooms that, oh my gosh, I'm a small fish in that room. Well, that's one of the points. Like, you are supposed to be, I always say, like, the first Apex meetup I ever went to, there was 15 of us, and I was literally like the least experienced, youngest person in the room. And I was like, this is incredible. That's what I did this for. But most people look at that as, one, I don't deserve to be in the room, but I'm not even going to ask for help or have those conversations because why would they want to help me? Well, part of it is just taking the initiative and actually putting yourself in there, getting vulnerable and admitting that you have a long way to go.
What do you mean be vulnerable? Like, you have vulnerable. Who wants to be vulnerable, right?
It's not easy.
I'm telling you, like, I thought, so when I had my construction company, I was living the high life. Like, I was 10 foot tall, bulletproof. I was a president of local builder association with 618 companies, you know, involved in it. It was very, very, very strong organization, but I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Nobody could tell me what to do. Like, if I knew what I knew now back then, I would probably have a national construction company, even coming through the recession. But I wasn't vulnerable, and I wasn't open to learning because I was already successful. It's like, geez, my way must be right, because like, everything is just going my way until it doesn't. And then you get real humble real fast. And then you like, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable here. And the people that aren't are in the same exact spot year after year after year. Right.
Yeah.
I remember my first mastermind, you know, you had mentioned years and 15 people in the room, but mine, I literally, and to be honest, it was with Ed Milet and Andy Frizella, you know, Andy out of St. Louis. And I was invited in. I was one of basically 50 people out of 38,000 that had gotten in 2019. And I was on a boat going to Ed Milet's lake house in Lake Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And I knew nobody. I didn't know one soul of the other 99 people on that boat going to Ed's place. And literally the feeling that you get from not knowing a soul, but you're talking to other people, right? And the energy on that boat was absolutely something I've never, ever, ever felt in my entire life. I literally, for the first time in my, at the time, 45, 46 years old, I felt at home. And I did not know one soul, right? But I felt like I was finally around people that got me, actually got me. And I got them, right? Like, it was just the energy on that boat was so, I don't want to, it wasn't anything to do with being boisterous or cocky or anything like that. It's just, I had finally found a home in where I was at. And I was 2,000 miles away from my house, right? It's one of those feelings that you have every time you're around people of the same mindset and that want to do good in the world.
Man, love that. I mean, I was literally just like thinking about the different groups I've been in, as you mentioned, like honestly kind of getting chills, but I could kind of just see a boat with like Ed and Andy on it, like, and everybody there. So you painted a really good picture there. But man, Jeff, this episode has been great. The way that we wrap up every single episode is we wanted to hear a little bit more about what you have coming down the pipeline. So what are you excited about, whether in your businesses, personally, things like that? And then we'll wrap it up and go from there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And thank you so much for having me on. This has been an awesome episode here. So what's next for me? I'll be honest, like I don't live day by day, but like I'm just grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be living each and every single day to be able to serve our clients with HR and mental health. Every entrepreneur is dealing with different compliance issues, with employee issues, with recruiting the right people and recruiting to their team culture. And by the way, if they don't have core values in their business, you can't recruit to anything but just, basically having a person to fog a mirror. It's helping people and business owners out with team members, with all that stuff HR related, right? But as I said earlier, it's all about the destination is the journey. So, man, I'm ready to travel. I'm ready to do lots of different things and still work and help my clients and help prospective clients and just be the best person I can possibly be tomorrow versus what I am today. So that's what's next for me, and I'm excited about it.
Love it. Well, I'm excited for you, and I'm excited to watch it all take place. I have no doubt you're going to do some amazing things. So, Jeff, where can people stay connected with you and then also find out about Iconic online? We'll put all of that in the show notes so that way people can get in contact with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So iconichr.com or Jeff Brekken at Facebook. LinkedIn is a good place to get me with Jeff Brekken. So, there's a lot of different things. We have our mental health company is called Mending Thoughts. So it's mendingthoughts.com. And that's something I'm also passionate about as far as helping people and employees, business owners have something that's got a great ROI to it as far as a benefit goes. So mendingthoughts.com, iconichr.com, or just Jeff Brekken but Jeff Brekken, Facebook and LinkedIn. So.
Amazing. We'll put that all in the show notes, Jeff. It's always great talking with you. Appreciate you coming on.
Adam, thank you so much. Grateful for you.
And I want to thank you again to the audience for tuning in to today's podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, download, and share our content. Leaving a 5-star review goes a long way. We'll see you all next week. And remember, entrepreneurs aren't born, they are brewed.
I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs aren't born, they're brewed. Thank you for listening to Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney. Let's